move over. Is that looking good? Let's get this going on Twitch. Well, there, what do you think? I better get a little closer and move this back then. Get my mic up. So, hello there. Let's get this ready. So hey guys, this is Turek. Today I'm going to do the One Piece's chapter 1097 has released, the unofficial versions. I'm going to review them here today. It continues the backstory, and so there's spoilers ahead. And actually, before I do that, I should just make a quick check of my stream. Is this working? Come on, Wilder. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me do this over again. Hold on. Neo. How does this YouTube thing work now? It's changed a bit, hasn't it? Let's see. Is it working? There. Okay. Good, 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 good. I'll keep that up like that. And I got OBS over here. So, now I'll start recording this too, so I can re-upload. Excuse me, coffee. Okay, hey guys, it's Turek. Today's the unofficial release of One Piece chapter 1097 has come out, and I'm going to review it. It continues Kuma's backstory, along with Ginny, who's presumably Jewelry Bonnie's mother. So actually, so a little recap. The last chapter, I actually thought this might have been the last chapter was going to be the end of the backstory, but we are doing a more in-depth, proper backstory here with Kuma. So see, I wasn't unsure about this. I'm guessing because I'm thinking about the dragon. Kaido had a little bit of a backstory several 20, 30 chapters ago. No, it's gotta be like over 30 now, yeah. When Kaido was defeated, no, that was like, well, how many chapters ago was that now? Almost 50? When Kaido was defeated, we did a bit of a backstory with him, but they didn't give us a whole lot with it. They, all they did was, how do I put this? Show bits and pieces of his backstory that was like covering his life from the point he was a kid. I think he was 10. The point he was 10 till right when he took over Wano. So like maybe 20 years later. I forget what age he was when he took over Wano. He was 60. He's about 60 now. Maybe it was about 35. We covered a couple decades or more of Kaido's life, but we didn't get a whole lot of stuff. Especially because Kaido is a first-hand person who was at God Valley, which the last two chapters gave us a bit of. But so I was surprised we didn't get much of that. And with this backstory with Kuma, I was thinking. I initially thought we were going to get a little bit of more backstory too. I saw a lot of other people were excited over that, but Oda has completely glossed over it here. Partially, I think, because I don't think Kuma really saw much of what happened. Once he got the fruit, first they did leave it on a cliffhanger. He was there for some important point in that Saint Saturn almost captured him, but we don't know how he escaped from that. But maybe after that he did get out of there, skedaddle, by using his fruit power there. Not by himself, obviously, because I think it says he got away with like something like 500 people. Wait a second here. I forgot to check that part. That's interesting. See right here. Yeah, 500 lives. He was able to get 500 other people out of there, of all the slaves that were part of the game. It can't be just the game. I think they only had, how many people did they have there? Maybe that's other citizens from God Valley. Hold on, let's see what they said here. I have the official chapter here. I was rereading it. So there were 150 rare rabbits and 13 super rare rabbits. They call them. It's part of that game. But there were like, I think it said there was 100,000. Yeah, the island's population here, according to this chapter, the last chapter, was 100,000 people. So he must have got some of the citizens out of there, which is surprising me in one way, that I'm surprised more people there didn't talk about what happened. Maybe they just were hunted down, sadly, or maybe they just didn't want to talk about it again because they knew they'd be hunted down. So anyways, where was I going with this? This backstory, yeah, Kuma's backstory. They didn't give us much about God Valley. Instead, I think the story seems to be following along, and Kuma's happened something with Kuma something with his wife, I think, Ginny. If this is, well, we don't know if they're married. She proposes to him in here at one point, kind of. So I'm worried that something's going to happen to Ginny, and that's going to be the focal point of this, because we get some other stuff with Kuma. So, but anyways, yeah, the God Valley incident apparently is something Oda's saving more for later. Even though we had Kaido and Big Mom in the last arc, the 101, we got little to nothing with them because they were at God Valley, and we see how Big Mom in the last chapter and Kaido. I'm thinking Oda's saving that God Valley for when Blackbeard is prominent in the story again later on. So anyways, yeah, the backstory there. Kuma, Ivankov, and Ginny escape. We don't know if Dragon was there, but we find out about stuff about Dragon in this chapter. But anyways, let's get into the chapter here. Which chapter? I got two translations here. So I'm actually going to cover here something I don't do often. The last, 20, 30 covered pages since we started Egghead or so, we've been having, I think, like requests from cover art requests that Oda has been doing for people, and this one's important because it shows Kuma and Ginny as adults fishing in a river. It's very cute. It shows so Kuma's using his pawpaw fruit apparently to make the fish bounce out of the water. It shows like a salmon or something there being bounced up, and Ginny's waiting nearby with a grill ready, and she's holding tongs in one hand, and she's got, I think, a glove of Kuma's in his other hand, which that's right. So he can't, now that he's got his paw fruit, that means he can never touch people with his regular hands. It looks like he always has to wear gloves, right? So let's see here. So now we jump. So when we last left them, the last chapter, when they got escaped from God Valley, Kuma was 9, and I think I see Ginny's 4 years older than him. So she must have been, is that right? She was 13? Anyway, let me check that. Let me make sure I'm getting that right. 1 second. Let me pull up the Shonen Jump here. Go back to 1095. Alright, what is it, kitty? Come on. There it is. Hold on a second, kitty. Oh, no, back. They don't tell her age, but I'm pretty sure it says she's 4 years older. Wait a minute. Let me check here, right? Stop it. Come on. Come here. You're so pushy, kitty. Yeah, kitty wants me to pet. Wait, I'm going the wrong way. La 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 la. I should have checked that first, but there's so much yeah, she's 4 years older. So he's 9 and she's, I think, 9 and he's 13. Yeah. So now the beginning of this chapter, we jump to 8 years later, 30 years ago from the main part. And Kuma has actually become the chapter, this translation calls him a clergyman, so probably like a priest. And he's operating in that same church on his homeland of Sorbet Kingdom. Sorry. And he is, oh, geez, hold on a second. Where did I put this one? Let me just memorize this. So he's what Kuma's doing now is he's following through with his idea, wanting to help the people, and he's figured out here how to. We saw in the last chapter actually, this first two, when he's a kid still. Even in that last chapter, he was getting beat up by bullies, and Ginny scared him off. But he felt sorry for them, and he had figured out how to use his devil fruit to remove pain from people. And now he is using his fruit and helping all the elderly people in a community near him to help to remove their pain. And it's becoming so much, it's happening so much though that actually Ginny's feels like they're abusing his abilities, and they want to come every day to have him help. Because I'm assuming because he's pushing, even though he's pushing the pain out, given these folks are they're showing us are very up there in their age, their aches and pains probably come back daily, and that's why they're hoping they're trying to have him help more. And I don't think they're trying to use his abilities in a negative way, but Ginny certainly is concerned he is here. We actually even have a line here too where some people even comment like, "Oh, we were so worried about you when you disappeared, and your parents came back, but it's nice to see that you are back." 1 second. I suspect here then that Kuma may not have, just much like Fisher Tiger, did not tell these other people that he was a slave. And so we get a view of Kuma here. And what's interesting here is I think this is the first time they properly show his eyes. I don't even think in that flashback with Egghead when that brief one where Dr. Vegapunk was talking about whether or not Kuma's abilities could also take out memories. I think he was wearing some kind of glasses. At this point, he is in his full size. Actually, he doesn't look that tall. Tall, but he's definitely very tall here. He's sitting in the church with all these elderly people, and they have little stairs, blocks or wood or whatever for them to come up in front of him, and he's using his fruit to remove the pain of this old lady. Oh, I'm sorry. And the eyes, yeah. So he's got his eyes. He's not wearing any glasses or anything. He's got the little ears though. So the ears, I don't get with the ears. He's of a special tribe, the Buccaneers, but we don't understand. I don't understand how these ears are supposed to be a cosmetic thing or part of him actually or whatever. But anyways, he's wearing like a priestly type outfit. It looks not like a modern one. It's a dark robes. He's got like a white. It's not a cloak. It only comes down halfway. It's like not a vest really. But I guess that's supposed to be the sign like he's a clergyman. And he's, or I'm going to call it a priest probably, so he's helping them out here. And all these people are waiting in line, and then he helps them. They're all thanking him and bowing and praying like, oh, it's wonderful to see someone who's helping us. And this is what's interesting too here. What I want to stop and make a little tangent about is we've had questions here for a while, there's like of religion and such in One Piece, and stuff like gods and whatnot, because we got people like Luffy and Son Goku have devil fruit powers that are kind of like their gods. Luffy's the sun god. He's the Son Goku's it's not really a god, right? But it's like Buddha the Buddha style, the and there was always this idea like, do people pray to gods? And there's like the Mother Sea thing seems to be some kind of entity that people believe in because they talk about that how the sea hates devil fruit users. So, anyways, this suggests there is a kind of what do you call that? Monotheistic. I think that's the right word for a single God, like kind of religion, like a Christianity, if you will, that is religion that exists in the One Piece world, and Kuma's joined it. So he took up the church. He must have found like another. He must have communicated to some other priest, established priest, and say, "Hey, I want to join the order, help people. I'll run this church and take care of it. That's here in the Sorbet Kingdom." And he's doing just that. So we now get a shot next of Ginny as an adult. So she's 21 years old. Yeah, Kuma's 17 at this point, and she's 21. And they are. Ginny's concerned about. The like I said, the elderly people overusing Kuma's power, almost abusing him. Not abusing it. Manipulating him, and I'm trying to think of the right words, but because they're just always asking for him to come. Because they're asking to come more often than just Sundays to have him heal their pains. And she comes in here stomping her foot and saying, "No, you guys can't just come in here, and I'm tired of you guys living in here too." And so, well, Oda really does his drawings up. I like that she looks a little different than some of the other female characters. Her hair is very different. It's similar to when she was a kid. She's got mostly short, with the exception of like some side bangs of sorts on her down her side, and she's just wearing a tank top and very short shorts, and she's got to have like the longest legs Oda's ever drawn on a human. It's almost like she'd be one of those. What is it? Don't they have a long leg tribe in One Piece? And her shirt just reads "sister," which is I guess appropriate because she kind of sees herself as the big sister to Kuma. So then we get all the elderly people. They're not scared of her. They just laugh and say, "Oh, it's her again. You're such a nice. We know you're a nice lady, Ginny. Please don't. You're not scaring us." And they even go on to like, "Oh, we hear that there's lots of suitors coming to talk to you." But yeah, but they don't have a chance with Kuma around, do they? And so now we get some interesting. These elderly people give us some interesting. They start talking about what's going on in their kingdom, and we get some good. What would you call that? Exposition, I guess. Just a second here. Exposition of what's going on in their kingdom, and so we know later on that Kuma is supposed to be the king of Sorbet Kingdom, and he was then probably framed by the government to be considered a tyrant. But we find out he is not the king yet. He's not even royalty or anything, which also makes sense because we saw his father 17 years ago hiding out here. So what's going on here is that there's a king. The king here is this guy named Bakori, and I'm trying to figure out. They're worried because they're worried here because he might. How does this say this? Because at some point let me backtrack. He wants, at this point, I can't tell whether the Sorbet Kingdom is yet part of the world government. It sounds like they might be. Or if not, he's trying to find a way to pay the tribute, which is essentially their taxes to the Celestial Dragons. He's trying to find a way to pay that so that he can become part of the world government. And so he, wait, how do they say that? So all right. So these citizens here are hiding out. They're talking about how they can't even pay Wait, I should bring this down just a little bit. Come on. Just a second. There. Because I keep ducking down. They're having a hard time paying their share of the heavenly tribute to the king. And it sounds like here, if I understand this right, that the king will lock up people that don't pay their taxes, or the heavenly tribute taxes, that he then in turn gives to the celestial dragons. So they're worried that about being in prison because they say he's such an awful king. He won't even feed his prisoners. So he just like imprisons people that he sees fit. And in this case, it looks like people don't pay their taxes, and then just lets them starve to death. And but then they head home after this little exposition is over, and then we see Kuma walk up to all this pain. He's blown out of the people. I guess it all combined somehow. Initially, it showed it like just a little bubble out of the old lady he was helping. But then there's a giant one that's even taller than him. And this is like the one we saw him take out a Luffy. And he goes up to it, and you can see he's mentally preparing himself, and he touches it and absorbs the pain from it. And it's like so excruciating. He's like screaming, and the church looks like it's shaking. And you see Ginny nearby just like slumped over, like trying not to, how do you call it? Just how to deal with this. Because what we see here is what we learn about his fruit power here is that he has to do this. Every time he takes pain from people, someone else has to take it. Or else it will just go back to whoever he pushed it out of. So he doesn't want being this kind and caring person he doesn't want it to go back to these poor old people that he's helping. And he's helped like dozens of them, it appears. And so he's taking it every week to help to make sure it doesn't go back to these folks. So this also explains too, because the people asked if they could come every day, and Ginny told them no, and they're just thinking, oh, she's just being like they called it like a cheapskate, and like cheapskate. Yeah, I can't say that right. But it's like, no, she's just concerned because even Kuma, with as tough as he is, we see him laying down in the church after he's absorbed the pain, and he's all bruised up, kind of like Zoro look, not as bloody, but very similar. And she's caring for him, obviously, and this is where he explains it. Like, yeah, I have to. She's like, you shouldn't be doing this, and like, they don't understand that this is how this works. And he's just like, no, I'm not. I have to do this, and it can't be helped. If I don't, it'll go back to him. So he just goes on saying like, yeah, I want to help people. It makes me happy to be able to give them a little bit of, ease from their pains and the stress of their life too, because they're having a hard time under the burden of this, the taxes and stuff. But and he goes on to say like, yeah, don't worry, I'll just get tougher, and then you don't have to worry, and it'll be fine. And she's like, no, that's not the point. You shouldn't even be doing it. Excuse me. So, he's able to get her to feel better though by pointing out, oh, well, as thanks, they did give us some food. And she's like, turns into, like a Luffy, like, oh, dinner time, okay, let's eat. And they're eating together, and it shows them like they did in the last chapter as kids, where she's gouging down food and cheering, just like really taking the time to appreciate that she has good food. I'm assuming when they were slaves, they didn't get hardly anything but like, breadcrumbs or something and piss poor water or something. So now we jump 5 years later. So that would be when he's 22. It says here, yeah. And now she's 26. And this is where Ginny proposes to Kuma. But it's more like, oh, let's just get married. Let's do it. Come on. And And Kuma's like, no, no, what? And then he just says we can't. And she responds obviously like, why not? What kind of response is that anyways? What, you love me? We've been living together. Let's just get married. And what Kuma's worried about here is, I'm supposing too he's never told her what race he's from, and he's concerned still about the celestial dragons finding him again, like he did when he was a little kid. We even have him. We even have him worried, remembering what his father went through when he got captured, and how he begged for himself to only be taken in, and like not his wife, like leave her alone because she was human. And he's worried the same thing's gonna obviously happen here with Ginny because she's human. So he's really concerned about that kind of reoccurring, and he won't explain. So he's not explaining this to her. She's like, what? What? She even yells at him like, "What? Why don't you want to marry me? You're not happy with me?" And he's like, "Yes, yes, obviously I am." But then he just changes the subject though, and he starts looking at the paper in front of him, and there's where he brings up about the he brings up the wait, what? Yeah, let's see, what year is this? 5 years ago. So at this point, he brings up about Dragon and his freedom fighters, and how they've been causing incidents, and now they finally have been at this point been given bounties because they've been causing lots of riots in the other countries. And unfortunately, we don't get to see Dragon's bounties still. We get a little clip of the paper that Kuma's holding, with just his face, and he still doesn't have the scar yet. Wait, not scar, the tattoo. Did he get that? Let me think it out. Did he get that when he was because this is 3 years before Ohara, and I'm trying to think if Dragon had his tattoo at this point. He doesn't here, and at this point, then it's not really the Revolutionary Army. He just calls it. It just talks about freedom fighters. So he's starting up the organization, obviously, and he's but he hasn't really gone. It's after Ohara that Dragon, we know from the other flashback a while back, that's when he really wants to take it to the next level and fighting the world government. At this point, Kuma just points out that they're inciting riots. And Kuma tells Ginny like, yeah, these guys are great. I want to be like them and help save people. We get a little scene then when some of these we get a scene at the end of this bit of the flashback where some of these fishermen come in and they're trying to court Ginny, and they're like giving her gifts of some of the catch they had, and and Kuma's just like, oh, thanks guys, and yeah, Ginny just is angry at this point that he's like avoiding the subject of them getting married and throws a wash bin or something at him. So now we switch to 22 years ago, so it's around the same time as Ohara, and this is where things get a bit serious, as it were. We find out that the king of the what's his name, Bukuri, is now making this new law in order to help keep his country within the Celestial Dragon's good graces, or keep them in the world government, I guess. He's trying to he's gonna have this law where he's how do you say this? He's basically turning the other part of the island where Kuma is into saying it's no longer officially part of our country, because he's worried about the population there, because the population there can't pay their taxes. He's gonna cut his population essentially in half. He's cutting the island directly in half. We see where the map here. Oda finally gives us a map, and we got the northern part of the island. I'm assuming that's north. They cut it up and down. So the top here is the castle and the main city in Sorbet. And I don't know if this is supposed to be to scale, because this looks very small if it is. It's probably not to scale. It's probably rather a big island, but the city's at the top, and it takes up about almost a third of the island. There's some woods above that, there's a big forest in the south, and near the middle, but just below this cutoff line that the king's making is Kuma's church on the right, and I can't see. And then on the left is another town, probably where all the elderly people are. And he, and so. So what's happening here too, though, is this we see some of these the men in the royal army are now that these people in the south are no longer considered citizens. They're going out for a little fun, as it were, discuss and saying. The one guy even is in this town here and says to Kuma, "We can now do whatever we want to you guys because you don't count as people or citizens that we have to protect." And I also think I read here that they're probably planning on like taking some of them and using them as slaves or such. That's what Kuma's assuming too, because that's his worst nightmares of slavery. Also, I think at this point we see Kuma out in the street facing the army, and he's got his cap on this time, and he's still wearing his priest outfit here. And they're starting to they're railing. These soldiers are corralling some people up. I don't know whether for the enslavement or just to play with them. Or the guy's like, we're allowed to do whatever we want. And Kuma's standing up to him, and he's trying to say, no, let them go, get out of here. And then he's getting a warning from one, like, well, you can't stand up to us. That's treason. Well, wait a minute. If he's not citizen anymore, that's not really treason now, is it? That doesn't make sense. And so Kuma gets pissed here, and he just uses his pawpaw powers to create an explosion of the expelling, the air expel, I guess that is, and blows him away. So that part actually came before the explanation of the king's policy, because we switch over to here, and we see I see like a soldier. It looks like maybe kind of an advisor. And he's telling the king, I don't know if this is a good idea, Your Highness. It's like a lot of people are probably going to be in an uproar over this. And he's just like, don't worry about it. They'll soon get over it and just come to see the Southerners as the vermin they are, he calls it in this translation. And he's doing this, and his explanation here is he wants the kingdom to thrive, so we have to cut off this, like a cancer, he calls them. So then we switch over to Kuma and Ginny and some of their buddies. And by the way, too, I gotta stop here. I think someone pointed out, I saw someone point this out, and I'm not sure if it's true, that some of these people here might be members who are on Bonnie's crew later on. So they're all in the prison together, and at this point, Kuma looks like he's wearing his outfit we saw, his main outfit. He's not in his robes anymore. He's got like that black vest on and wearing some white pants. So they're all in the prison, and Kuma was arrested first apparently, because then he asked the others like, "Hey, why are you guys here?" And Ginny's like, "Yeah, we raised hell and we tried to get you out of there, but they outnumbered us and threw us in here." So they're all laughing though. These other buddies are there. They're just like, "Yeah, we tried to fight them, but there was just too many." They're rather cheerful about it. So now Kuma goes, okay, let's see. So Kuma goes on to tell Ginny this while they're in the jail, like, this policy must have been from the Celestial Dragons. This can't just be king. And I think he's basically pointing out here, I guess at this point, this is where we're seeing Kuma's conviction to fight the government, like that he has to do something else. And he's trying to warn Ginny, like, I don't want you to get involved in this. And then she's like, well, no, is that how he says it? No, and then she's saying, no, if you're thinking about fighting back, you got to be careful then. if you're right about the celestial dragons being the ones who brought this down, because then you're going to be fighting the world government. Well, he will anyways if he fights against these. But now what happens here is they're saved. It doesn't show how long this happens. It just happens the same night or whatnot that they're in prison. But we switch to panels where the main city is being destroyed, bombarded with explosions and such, or maybe just concentrated by the castle. I'm guessing the king's castle, and the king is the king. They're being attacked by the dragon and Ivankov. We first get those silhouettes, and they're like, the king's like, oh, being told that we gotta flee. You're in danger, and Dragon and Ivankov are like, ha, we're not gonna let you guys escape. Okay, yeah, so they successfully create a coup here at this point, and I have probably, I don't know if they do it themselves or have other people like the ones that Kuma or defending work together, but we get to a panel where people are celebrating because the king's been overthrown. And we see a lot of people in the streets celebrating. And then we just get a little panel from the narrator like, oh, the kingdom was saved from the corruption of the world government. So we switch now to Ivankov and Dragon going into the prison where Kuma and Ginny still are. And Ivankov's saying, hey, my friend of mine is in here, and you're gonna love this guy. Dragon's like, yeah, I heard about your friend. Apparently, he went on the rampage here, trying to help the people. So Kuma and Ginny are like, oh, it's you. It's Ivankov. Is that really you? We haven't seen you forever. What's going on? And so Ivankov says, hey, what do you guys think about joining us to change the world? And now we get a big shot here where it's kind of like the one we saw later on. I think we saw the shot later with Kuma, Dragon, and Ivankov, and we see these members together here. And I actually see some of the captains. I especially recognize the one with the crow fruit, and I think that might be the other one who was. Is that supposed to be the same girl? The one with she's got the fruit where she can make people rally them to fight back. Let's see, what's that called? Let me get her a second. I forget her name. Bonnie. No, not Bonnie. Dang, what's her name again? Let's see. I'm going to pull up those captains here. Overview. No, here we go. Kurosu. Betty. Yeah, Betty. So we see Betty. There's a guy, I thought that was supposed to be Lindbergh, but I don't think it is. But it might be Betty with like long hair because she's got glasses and a hat. That looks kind of like what Sabo wore later on. So we get this shot with all these other members, some we never met, and we see Ivankov, Dragon, and Kuma, and Ginny too. And then we get a little exposition about how the freedom fighters, seeing the problems of the world getting worse, and the tragedy of horror, and then with the great pirate era that spurred them to fight this corruption. And this point is also point out. This is the point where when Kuma and Ginny join up, that this is the point that they change from being just the freedom fighters to the revolutionary army. And this is a good shot. I like how they show them like this. It's very similar to that last one. And I like how Ginny's in this corner. Like I said, this didn't take long for the 2 pillars to become 3. And then Ginny's in the corner like, count me in too. So we get a little more exposition about the revolutionary stuff. And we next have shown them like fighting in other areas. This might be in the same story, but it shows us shot where they're running down a street, the different soldiers carrying weapons, and then we get a little exposition from Dragon about how their activities are functioning right now because they don't have any funds, and what he's kind of like telling us. I think he's kind of talking to Kuma here. Yeah, this is a backstory. He's talking to Kuma at the same time on one of their ships, and he's talking about we gotta our job right now is will support other people who want to overthrow their kingdoms. Um, and he's talking over how we the more every time with these recruits we got to make sure we train them to properly fight because this is going to be serious now with handling the going up against the world government. And I want to stop him by point out too that at this point this is like supposed to be was 22 years ago. We still don't know anything about what if Dragon has a wife at this point either because Luffy's now 19, so this is 3 years before he's born that they're doing this. Um, so we get an interesting bit here too about where they're all talking together on a ship. Kuma, Dragon, Ginny, and Ivankov are sitting together in probably like their a captain's area, and Kuma asks Dragon like, how did you learn how to use weapons the way you and your army is doing it? And this is where Dragon points out I was in the Navy at one time, and but I left there because I didn't see that justice was being done, as they say. That's what the Marines are about. And Dragon must have saw the corruption going on, and he decided it wasn't for him. So this is something we've thought about for a long time. That might be, and a lot of people were hoping that when we saw the God Valley chapter, the last chapter, that we might have actually saw Dragon there. But all we could see was some other office. We saw Garp for sure, and then some other people with him when he came to the island, God Valley, to he was there to capture Roger, and we don't know if he was part of that incident. So now we switch over to we switch here to I switched to not yet. I can't flow right with this. Kuma's like we end that bit with Kuma's saying to Dragon, you can rely on me, Dragon. I have he's basically making his oath, kind of like the other Straw Hats with Luffy. I believe in you. I'm gonna serve you well, and we're gonna beat these world government people. And Dragon just says, yes, you thank you for that, and you won't regret being part of this. I'll live up to your standards, basically. Years. Okay. So the next we get a panel here where Kuma still comes back to the Sorbet Kingdom. So now he's out and about helping with the activities of the Revolutionary Army at this point 22 years ago. But we show him here when he's going back to the church to help his people. What would you call it? The people who come to your church. The people, anyway, so those elderly people he's helping, he's still going back every now and then to help them out. He doesn't want to just leave, even though he has to go out now and out and function with the World Revolutionary Army and their efforts to help other countries. He's making time to come back and help them still. So then we get a little exposition from the narrator again, where the 8 years, the next 8 years, it's weird how this is. It just says the sun continued to rise and set like normal. But so we're jumping 8 years later after Kuma and Ginny have joined, and we get to a scene where Ginny and a bunch of other revolutionaries are set up in a city somewhere, and it doesn't. The narrator won't tell us. It just says 14 years ago, a certain kingdom, and Ginny we see has changed a bit now. She was already this tough. We showed her earlier where she's this tough, assertive woman, but now she's got this battle-hardened look, and her outfit reflects that in a way. She's wearing these striped pants with high top boots or whatever, and she's still wearing just a t-shirt. And she's got I don't know if that's supposed to be a thing to carry a sidearm, the kind of not a vest, I don't know what you call that. And then she's carrying a rifle with her, and her and these guys are setting up for a battle or something. They're all arming up, and they're sitting on crates of ammunition, and one of her friends says, "Oh, Ginny, you seem especially excited today. Are you looking forward to our activities, what we're about to do?" And she's like, "Oh no, well, isn't it obvious why? we're about to link up with Kuma's squadron. I can't have like so. Apparently, they haven't seen each other in a bit right at this point. Uh, so this is weird how that ends. We're near the end of the chapter now. So we also it shows. I forgot to mention first the captain. She's a captain of the Eastern forces at this point. So where's the East? So Betty's the captain now. Yeah, she's the captain of the East Army, but now at this point, Ginny is the captain. This is 14 years ago. I want to remind you, 14 years before the time, our current point. So what we have that we end this off by first having like this point. Wait a minute here. Is this the other men? Because there's this point here where like I think these are one of the other soldiers. They like someone says Captain Kuma won the heart of the lady we admire, and she's like, "You guys admire me? You're gross." And no, it must be someone else. Because then we switch to the headquarters of we're dragging the revolutionaries' headquarters, the one they were at until recently when Blackbeard came and attacked them. And Blackbeard, Dragon gets this message that Ginny has been captured. The enemy they were ambushed by the enemy, and they captured her in the process. And that's where we end the chapter there with Dragon just like, oh shit, like how could this happen? And yeah, I thought that was so. This is the part where I'm worried here at this part that this is where we're gonna find out that something's gonna happen to Ginny, and that's gonna be Kuma's a turning point for Kuma. So at this point too, we don't know if Kuma's become the king of Sorbet Kingdom. This is 14 years ago. Also, we don't know if the guy ever got married. I think that was 11 years ago here. They mentioned the part where she had proposed to him, right? 8 years. 11 years ago is when she wanted them to get married. And he didn't. He said no at the time. Then we just skipped over to the part where they're fighting against those the local forces of the king who are starting to round up people. And so also this brings up another question too, is that that's bothering me here is if they're married, if they are married, is Bonnie been born yet? So I'm trying to check, but I don't think Bonnie's ever been given a proper age. We see her main look she always has leads us to think that she's probably in her early 20s. But her fruit lets her change her age at will. And of course, as an effective combat ability of sorts, she can, we don't know the radius exactly, but she can turn other people old into young or older than what they currently are. And also, she seems to have some abilities, I think, to do that with inanimate objects. I think they showed a little bit of that in Egghead. So I'm wondering where Bonnie is in all this and how this is going to fit in, obviously. Like, what is Bonnie born here? Maybe, so what I'm thinking is if Bonnie is a child here, I wonder if Bonnie is actually younger than we thought. Because, there's just no showing. If this is 14 years ago, what if Bonnie's a little kid now? Here, no, then she could still be about Luffy's age. And see, there's a rabbit hole here. Like when we don't have enough information, I'm just starting to speculate that Bonnie is not the same age, as other people have already stated that we thought. South Blue. Let me look here again. What do they say she's from? They just say she's from the South Blue. No, they showed her as a kid. That's right. There's a scene when she's a kid, where that's right, about 20 chapters ago when she was telling this Luffy, you can't fight that one pacifista because of her likeness to Kuma. It showed her as a little kid, so she must be somewhere here. And this is interesting too because this affected this if that doesn't make sense. So how does this work with Kuma being said to be the king of the Sorbet Kingdom? Because now at this point, they say that he's captain. He's one of the captains. Uh, he's one of the captains here, and so he's working with the Revolutionary Army. And this is 14 years ago. Does he like leave at some point when he's like his people want him to be the? Because he's going back to the island to help people. So word's gonna be spreading like that he's there, and then they're gonna want him to be king. So maybe that's how. Maybe he's because he's that's it. If they had a kid, what I was trying to say is it's interesting that they will probably have Bonnie a little kid at this point, and that she they're probably keeping she's probably staying. I'm guessing Bonnie would be staying in the Sorbet Kingdom. Maybe those elderly people are looking after her little surrogate. So like in place of when Bonnie, when Ginny and Kuma aren't able to come back and help because they're trying to fight the good fight. This is an interesting, if that is true that way. Either way, the fact that they had a kid is interesting because we know that Dragon, Luffy's at this point 14 years ago. Luffy would be 5 years old, I believe, but he is not with Dragon. He doesn't even know who Dragon. He didn't know Dragon was his dad until 2 years ago, and he's left in what's the kingdom he's from? The Goa Kingdom. There, and then Garp just comes in now then and is trying to take care of him, and then he was staying in Fuchsia Village, where he's like, where was he staying? Was he staying with that bartender? What's her name? I wonder if he was like Luffy was like living with her at that point. But after Shanks showed up and Garp was like upset that Luffy's been influenced by him, he then takes Luffy from that village and he goes up and takes Luffy to live with the mountain bandits. And that's where he meets Ace. Ace is already up there too. So it's just interesting though that Dragon has his kid. I wonder if like something happens here that makes Dragon worried about the prospect. Well, no, Dragon's already had Luffy. He's probably. It's just interesting that Dragon decides to not take care of Luffy, and that Bonnie and Kuma, I'm assuming, are still coming in and checking on Bonnie. I mean, Ginny and Kuma are checking on Bonnie. I think I said Bonnie and Kuma because we had that shot here, that flashback where Kuma is holding Bonnie. I keep mixing up the mom and daughter, holding up Bonnie, and so he's taking the time to let his daughter to see his daughter, and Dragon clearly did not, at least past a certain point. Like it's possible Dragon, was with his wife when Luffy was born. He got to hold him. They were taking care of him. There's probably still something that happened with Luffy's mom that changed Dragon in the respect of like wanting to take care of Luffy because he was worried about his safety. And then so I'm guessing Dragon took Luffy to Garp so he'd be safer than staying with the Revolutionary Army. Also, I forgot to bring up, it's very interesting here to see how many kingdoms in the One Piece world have such terrible monarchs. You got the Goa Kingdom. What happened with the Great Terminal being burnt down when Luffy and Ace were kids, Sabo. And now we got this kingdom here where this guy's doing the same thing. He's effectively doing the same thing the Goa Kingdom probably already had, where, well, maybe they did. I wonder how long. To having this area that's a lawless area because he doesn't want to spend the manpower and the tribute, because I'm guessing the way I understood it, the tribute is based on the population. So he's cutting it off and saying, no, that's not anything important. We're gonna say that's not part of the kingdom. So it's so sad to see how many of these kings in here. We got that one kingdom that was Lucia, I think. They got destroyed. They had the bad kings. Got Goa, got Sorbet. I don't know about. Well, I'm thinking about the one that Kaido was from. Was that? And then that place was always fighting of other nations, and so they got rid of Kaido and used him as a tribute to try to get into the world government. So that guy wasn't really per se corrupt. He just was like trying to find a way to protect his kingdom. And Kaido, even though he was an effective warrior, was also kind of a loose cannon. I think they were worried with him because he was just, probably taking out, causing as much collateral damage to his fellow citizens as it was to the enemy. I'm guessing. Yeah, this was a good chapter, very interesting chapter. It's just now I'm just really concerned about what's going to happen with Ginny. I'm just like, what's the point here? Like, who captured him? Was it the world government? Was it like local forces on whatever kingdom? Because they don't give us anything with that kingdom. They show enough. Let's see. So they show. I see some towers back there that look like stone. Yeah, so at the end here, I'm guessing it must have been some other of subordinates of Ginny. Yeah, some of the subordinates. One of the subordinates of Ginny reports back to Dragon that she's been captured here. Disturbing news. Was there a break next week? I don't think there is. It doesn't mention a break. Also, on an interesting note, I noticed Dragon here has some kind of band on his left leg up on his thigh. It has like X's, some X's and then diamonds in between that. And I wonder what that's about. They don't show at this point either if Ivankov, I'm guessing he does. Ivankov probably has his devil fruit by now because he's got that appearance with his face that we know of him. He's got the eyelashes, he's got the lipstick. He looks like he's wearing the same. Did he wear a cape in the present? I think he does. But he's wearing a different shirt at this point. He's not wearing the skin tight, whatever you call it. He's wearing like a button-down shirt that's partly open, kind of similar to what Dragon is. It looks like that's a uniform of sorts they have, because Kuma in this one shot has a similar outfit. Yeah, they're all wearing capes actually. Those three. Ginny's the only one that's not. They all got a big. Kuma's got a big cape, and he's got a white shirt too, but he's got the really high collar on his. And Dragon and Ivankov, yeah, they all have like similar shirt, but Dragon and Ivankov leave it unbuttoned a bit. But he's not wearing. No, he is wearing his trademark hat at that point. Yeah, it looks like his hat. He's not wearing his hat up until the 22 years ago. I noticed he has it on when he's fighting those local army, Bakuri's army. And then he's has it here in the shot when he's in the prison, and then when he's with Dragon, yeah. Also, wait, what is that? Where she's wearing her? But Ginny's wearing. I noticed in this last shot goggles. No, I was trying to think if that was something her Bonnie was wearing. So yeah. Anyways, that was quite the chapter there. Doesn't look like at this point the giant. What's her name or her name? Sorry, I can't think of the giant name. The giant that was one of the captains also doesn't appear to be Marley. She doesn't appear to be there at this point. That might be Betty there though, next to Kurosu. Can't read that. And yeah, I don't think that's Lindbergh. There's someone that I thought was like a minx to the right, but it looks like an older minx. It does not look like Lindbergh. So yeah, I guess I'll leave the chapter ending here. Yeah, I'm trying to. There's so much to go over with this one. I'm glad we're getting a big. We're getting this much information on Kuma because this guy's just been such a mystery ever since we saw him last with, especially from Thriller Bark. Because after that we saw him in little bits and pieces, and it's just like, where's this gonna go with him in the present, you know? Like, when did he become a warlord? Yeah, there's a lot that'll go over. I'll have to probably do another video on that. But I'm going to end this here today. Thanks for watching.